Yo, what's going on, guys? Savage here. Today we're going to be going over settings that I use for Warzone. Now, my live streams over on Twitch, I've been getting a lot of questions about people asking me what settings I use for this, what settings I use for that. Hopefully this will cover all my settings and get you guys squared away. If you guys haven't followed me on Twitch yet, make sure you do so. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel and leave a like on the video if this helps you in any way, shape, or form. Let's get to 100 likes. All right, first and foremost, my sensitivity. Now, again, I'm mouse and keyboard, so this is only for mouse and keyboard players. My mouse itself is set to 800 DPI. My sensitivity, of course, as you can see right here, is set to 12. The reason I have it like this is for my wrist and arm movement. Now, what these settings will do for you is allow you to use your wrist movement in order to navigate the map and kind of just move around like this. But if you need a whip on a target and just do a 360 or a 180, you can just kind of flick your entire wrist and move away. I don't like moving my entire arm all the time. I don't like to game with my entire arm. I like to just use my wrist. And if I really want to get into it and have to flick, I will use my arm if I have to, but I'm a comfortable gamer. I just want to be able to just lay back, lounge, and move my mouse around. And I don't have to worry about working out my arm all the time. All right, guys, when it comes to field of view, my preference is rocking 120. I know a lot of people don't like it because it gives a fisheye effect, but I'm used to it by now. I actually enjoy it. It makes me feel like I'm moving a lot faster throughout the game, which gets me more into the game. I definitely recommend if you're on PC, don't use anything less than 100. Use the PC to your advantage, guys. See as much as you can see. As you can see right here by the diagram, if you're using 100, this is exactly what you can see within the box. Anything less than that, you're just kind of taking away from your peripherals. With this game as intensive as it is and people coming at you left and right, you want to see as much as possible, and that's actually why I rock the 120. When it comes to the ADS field of view, always rock independent. When you ADS on a target, especially with a high field of view, you want it to be independent. What this does is it gets a more zoomed in feel when you ADS, as you can see right here. If you have it set to affected, it's just going to be a normal view. It's not going to zoom in at all when you ADS, and who wants that? All right, as far as brightness is concerned, I like 55. 50 was a little too less for me. I couldn't see inside windows and stuff, so I bumped it up to about 60, 65, and then the sun was just too bright, so I felt like 55 was just the best area for me. And even with 55, the sun's a little bit bright for me, but I don't want to go down any lower than that, otherwise I won't be able to see inside buildings. As far as the mini map's concerned, always use the square map. I actually prefer the round. I feel like it's just more aesthetic to me, but if you're trying to be competitive and you want to see everybody around you, use the square map. I'm always pressing M and getting into the big map itself, so I kind of know what's around me. Whenever I hear shots, I always check my big map, so I don't really need the square. But again, if you just want to be more fluid, squares is definitely the way to go, despite what I actually use. Minimap rotation, always have it enabled. A lot of people ask me why I have my frames counter up and how I get it up. This is actually how you enable your frame counter. You want to have your frame counter up. That way, if you're not pulling as many frames as you want, you know it, and then you can go in and kind of tweak your graphics settings to kind of get more frames out of it. When it comes to graphics setting, this is pretty important, and I just restarted my game, so you guys get to experience this with me. For some reason on my PC and some others PCs as well, whenever you restart the game, it resets your graphics settings. At that point, what you want to do is you want to click full screen, which is you always want to be on full screen if you can. Of course, I have a 1080 with my gaming computer. My monitor is 165 refresh rate, so that's what I have it set to. I don't believe it'll give you an option if your monitor is not even capable of it, so just always max out whatever it gives you. Render resolution, you definitely want to set that to 1080 or 1920 by 1080, so that's 100%. If you really want to see some pretty graphics, max this bitch out. Don't play with it on max though, but if you're creating some thumbnails and stuff, always max it out. That is, the graphics on that are just absolutely mind-blowing. You guys will be so confused. As far as frames is concerned, actual gameplay 1920 by 1080. If you're for some reason pulling less frames than you want, still I wouldn't recommend ever tanking this. This will make the game almost unbearable to play as far as graphics is concerned. I always leave VSync off. I don't even have a VSync monitor, but when I did leave it off, for some reason it would always take my frames. Custom frame rate limit, I like to leave it around 140. If you max this thing out 300 or you just have it set to unlimited, your graphics card is actually going to work harder than you want it to. And at that point, you'll have huge frame droppage at just random places. So basically with like a vehicle pushes you and explodes, your frames are just going to absolutely tank. Just always set a custom frame rate limit around 140 to 180 is what I would recommend. Menu frame rate, you really don't have to worry about that. I always have mine set to 60. You really just don't need that much stuff, and you want your game to be more responsive. Nvidia highlights, turn that crap off. Absolute garbage. The last thing you want is when you get a double kill or get one kill, your Nvidia highlights activates and your entire game just freezes. Your frames tank, it becomes unplayable. Just turn it off. Restart shader installation. You guys will know sometimes there's glitches where it's say installing shaders and it just will never go away. Just whenever you're going to sleep, hit this restart shader installation and that will eventually finish. And then the next day you wake up, you'll be able to play the game without having to worry about the stupid message right there. Now these settings is just purely based on preference. I like to run everything max settings. I still get 120 frames plus running everything on max, but you guys can kind of just mess with this based on what kind of system you have. If you guys have to go down on a couple of graphic settings, I'll tell you guys which ones to go down on if you guys' video cards just aren't powerful enough. But as far as texture resolution, always leave this high. It makes the game so ugly, as you can see right here in the picture, if you do anything else to it. Texture filter, you can definitely turn that down if you want to, but I always leave mine high. Particle lighting, you can turn that down if you'd like. Bullet impact and sprays, always leave it enabled. If people are shooting at you and missing your shots and you don't know where they're at because you have no hit indicator, because they are missing their shots, just look at nearby walls, see where the bullets are coming from. You can kind of know which way to go to dodge the bullets. Tessellation, I leave it off. I noticed that when I have it on, instead of it looking as pretty as this, the edges are actually like, I don't even know how to describe it, grainy, pixely. It makes spotting head glitches real hard because everything's just like a giant blur around buildings and rooftops and things like that. So I leave that off. I don't know if it's supposed to do that. It sure as hell doesn't look like it's supposed to, but that's what it does for me. All right, as far as particle lighting, I leave my particle lighting on low. Again, personal preference. It's just if you want it to be super pretty or not. But if you look at the picture, it's really not that drastic, just a little bit less of like an orange and red glow. DirectX, this will absolutely destroy your gameplay. Leave this off. Even if you have a 20 series or a Titan or something like that, leave this off. You will not get the frames that you're trying to get for competitive gameplay. Ambient inclusion is just like minute shadows. I leave it off. It doesn't really matter. You can barely see it anyway. This picture, for instance, it's literally just the window seal. All right, anti-aliasing. This is pretty important. I noticed that when I turned mine down to this setting right here, my edges became a little bit more pixelated. This is what I like to run it on, and it's way better. It's way easier to spot head glitches. So if someone's sitting on the rooftop and all you can see is the tip of their head, you'll be able to see it pretty clear with this, even with a sniper. But if you go down to this setting, or even this, which I highly recommend you don't do, it gets a little grainy. I would definitely recommend SMAA T2X at the very bare minimum, but this is my go-to of choice. Now, depth of field, I disable this, otherwise it's going to make it blurry. Always leave this disabled. As you can see right here, the gun becomes blurry, and if this is a full picture, you'll notice that the edges will be getting blurry too. You can kind of see right here with the wall how this is crisp and this is blurry. There's no reason for that. If someone wraps a corner on the side, last thing I'm gonna do is not be able to see them because there's a blur. Motion blur, world blur, turn that shit off. You don't need that. Who wants to see blur? If I'm turning fast, I want to see if there's someone in the window. I want to see if someone peeks. I don't want it to be blurry. That's absolutely insane. I don't even know why this is an option. Filmatic strength and film grain, definitely leave that 0 as well. All right, now getting into audio settings. Now there's no perfect audio setting. You're not going to be able to hear footsteps better listening to this video, but maybe all the sounds will make a little bit more sense. I always use boost low. I find that if I use any other settings, either one of two things happens. Either A, it sounds like I'm in a tunnel or underwater, or B, everything's stupid loud and you don't want it to be. The warthogs coming in are just screeching, blowing your eardrums out. You can't hear anything like footsteps. You can barely hear gunfire. It really focuses on like explosions and things like that, especially boost high. This will absolutely blow your eardrums out whenever a warthog flies over. Always use boost low. That's just the best setting. I don't really think that anyone would disagree with that at all. Music, turn this down. Never listen to music. 1, the music's not that good. 2, it's not worth. And 3, it's not worth. Now, dialogue volume. I see a lot of streamers use this. And again, it's personal preference, but I like to leave dialogue off. Whatever operator they're using, you can hear their voice comms and things like that. If you're playing with randoms, the last thing you want them to do is be spamming voice chatter and trying to sound horn. You can't hear anything. So I leave it off for that reason, but mostly the announcer. I can't stand when I'm trying to push a team, I'm trying to sound horn, make sure I can have all my senses aware. And then the dialogue announcer starts coming up and he's like, move to the new AO, circle incoming. And like there's this weird music and shit, and it's just annoying as hell. So I leave the dialogue volume to 0. I don't want to hear anyone's voice when I'm trying to sound whore. The only things I want to hear are explosions, footsteps, gunshots, vehicles, and callouts through Discord. That is it. Again, guys, I'm not going to cover anything controller based because I'm not a controller player. So I do not know how to help you guys with any of that. All right, as far as movement is concerned, I always like tap movements. I don't really try to hold anything. Tap and toggle's all I want. Slide behavior. If you're trying to play Warzone, never have it as hold, always have it as tap. The reason being is slide cancel. You guys watched my last video, and if you haven't, I'll link it in the description below. Slide canceling is one of the most important features in movement in Warzone. Always have it at tap. This is for mouse and keyboard or controller. Crouch behavior toggle, prone behavior toggle. Like I said, dude, tap and toggle, that's all I want to do. Parachute auto deploy, disable that. The parachute auto deploy is enabled. Then when you're flying into the map, it'll automatically pull the parachute and you're just kind of floating duck for about 5 seconds. I personally like to get as low to the ground as possible. That way I can't get shot out of that air. But guys, again, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you leave a comment in the section below, leave a like on the video, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Don't forget to follow us on Twitch. And guys, I'll catch you in the next video, boys. Yo guys, what's going on? I really hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure you follow us on Twitch. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel. And if you guys want some more content, man, check out one of these videos. I'm sure they're dope as fuck. Not sure what they are. YouTube, what's that one? And what is that one? I don't know. Click it and find out. But guys, follow us on Twitch. I'll see you guys in the next video, boys. Peace.